Imagine two people. One has money, the other doesn't. Now, imagine both need the exact same thing: a bank account, a car, a place to live, a loan, a phone, a refrigerator, a way to survive modern society without accidentally becoming a cave dweller. You would think the person with less money would pay less. That seems logical. That seems fair. That seems like how reality should work. Unfortunately, reality looked at that idea and said, "That's adorable." Because one of the strangest features of modern life is this: being poor is often incredibly expensive. In fact, some people spend their entire lives paying what economists sometimes call a poverty premium, a hidden tax, not an official government tax. No politician stands at a podium and announces it. No IRS form mentions it, but it's there, quietly charging people extra for having less money. Let's start with something simple: shoes. Imagine a wealthy stick figure buys a pair of high-quality boots for $200. They last 10 years. Now imagine a struggling stick figure buys a $40 pair of boots. 6 months later, they're falling apart, so they buy another pair, and another dot, and another dot after 10 years. They've spent far more money. This idea is sometimes called the boots theory of poverty, which sounds like a military strategy, but it's actually about how lacking money forces people into cheaper short-term choices that become more expensive over time. Poor people often can't afford the best option, so they end up paying for the same thing over and over. It's like getting punished for not having enough money to avoid the punishment. Now, let's talk about banking, or as some Americans know it, the monthly adventure of avoiding fees. Imagine you have a healthy bank balance. Life is easy. The bank smiles at you. The app sends cheerful notifications. Everyone gets along. Now imagine you're living paycheck to paycheck. Your account dips. Below a minimum balance. Fee, you accidentally overdraft. Fee. Your paycheck arrives 1 day late. Fee. You breathe incorrectly. Probably another fee. Banks have improved in some areas over the years, but for many low-income households, financial services can still be surprisingly expensive. The less money you have, the more expensive it can become to manage money, which feels like a design flaw in civilization. Then there's credit, one of the greatest examples of the poverty premium. Let's imagine two stick figures want to buy the exact same car, same model, same year, same color. One has excellent credit, the other has poor credit. The first person gets a low interest rate. The second person gets an interest rate that looks like a typo over the life of the loan. The second person may pay thousands more, not because they got a better car, not because they drove farther, not because the vehicle can fly, simply because borrowing money becomes more expensive when you're perceived as financially risky, which creates a fascinating cycle. Having less money often means paying more to access money. The universe really outdid itself with that one. Now, let's visit the grocery store, a place where economic theory meets reality. People often hear financial advice like, just buy in bulk. Great idea. Absolutely fantastic. One tiny problem: bulk purchases require money. Imagine a giant package of paper. Towels costs less per roll. A family with extra cash buys the giant package. They save money. A family with a tight budget buys smaller packs because that's all they can afford today. The price per roll is higher. The same thing happens with food, household supplies, toiletries, countless everyday items. The ability to spend more upfront often creates savings later. And if you can't spend more upfront, you miss those savings again and again. Then we arrive at transportation, the area where things get really painful. A wealthy person owns a reliable vehicle. It starts every morning. Life proceeds normally. A low-income worker owns a car held together by determination and zip ties. The transmission fails. The repair bill arrives. Now, they're missing work, losing income, paying for repairs, possibly paying for alternative transportation. The problem isn't just the repair, it's the chain reaction. Financial emergencies rarely travel alone. They're like economic raccoons. Once one shows up, several more usually follow. Housing creates another version of the poverty tax. People often assume renting is cheaper than owning. In the short term, sometimes it is, but long term, many homeowners gradually build equity. Many renters simply keep paying rent year after year, decade after decade. And because buying a home requires savings, down payments, and access to credit, many people never get the opportunity. The result? People with less wealth often have fewer opportunities to build wealth. It's one of the reasons economic mobility can be so difficult now. Let's talk about time, because poor people often pay with that too. Imagine you have money, you order groceries online, you pay for delivery, problem solved. Now imagine you don't. Maybe you take 2 buses to reach a cheaper store. Maybe you spend hours comparing prices. Maybe you travel farther for affordable goods. Maybe you wait in lines. Longer, maybe you juggle multiple jobs. Money often buys convenience. Lack of money often requires time, and time has value. The hidden tax isn't always financial. Sometimes it's measured in hours that could have been spent earning. Money, studying, resting, being with family, or simply enjoying life. Another example, cell phones. People with strong credit often qualify for financing plans, promotions, lower monthly costs. People without strong credit may need prepaid options or less favorable plans. Again, the exact same service, different costs. Different outcomes. Then there's healthcare, a topic capable of making almost everyone nervous. Preventive care often saves money. Early treatment often saves money. Routine checkups often save money. But people without resources sometimes delay care. Not because they want to, because they have to. A minor problem becomes a major problem. A cheap solution becomes an expensive solution. The bill grows, the stress grows. Everything grows except the bank account. And this leads to one of the most important points. The poverty premium isn't usually one giant expense. It's hundreds of small penalties, a fee here, an interest payment there, a repair bill, a late charge, a missed discount, a higher insurance premium, a lost opportunity. Each one seems manageable. Together, they become exhausting. It's like trying to climb a staircase where every step costs money. Meanwhile, people with more resources often receive discounts, lower interest rates, better investment opportunities, tax advantages, employer benefits, rewards programs, cashback offers. The system frequently gives the best deals to people who need them the least, which is one of those observations that sounds cynical until you start looking at the numbers. Now, to be fair, this isn't some giant conspiracy. Most of these outcomes emerge from risk calculations, market incentives, and economic systems. Nobody wakes up in a boardroom and says, "How can we make life harder for struggling families today?" At least hopefully not. The problem is that systems built around efficiency don't always produce fairness. And when every disadvantage compounds, the results can become significant. That's why economists often talk about cycles, because financial struggles aren't just about income, they're about costs, access, credit, opportunity, timing, and momentum. A person moving uphill while carrying extra weights isn't necessarily making worse decisions. They're playing on a harder difficulty setting. So what is the secret tax on being poor? It's paying more for less, paying more for credit, paying more for necessities, paying more for flexibility, paying more because you couldn't afford the cheaper option. It's a tax nobody voted for, a tax nobody officially collects, a tax hidden inside everyday life. And perhaps the most frustrating part, the people paying it are usually the people who can least afford it, which means the biggest. Financial lesson isn't always how to make more money. Sometimes it's understanding how expensive it can be to have less of it. And once you see that hidden tax, you start noticing it everywhere, like an economist or a very depressed detective.